maybe we can start reading.
Yes.
Just 1 second. Let me, 1 second. Yeah. The inconscience is an inverse.
The inconscience is an inverse reproduction of the supreme superconscious. It has the same absoluteness of being and automatic action.
Kiran,
In a vast,
1 minute. Your internet is not very clear. So I think just tighten the connections and then see whether it improves. Yeah. Okay. Start reading again.
The inconscience is an inverse reproduction
No,
of the supreme.
it's very broken. Okay. So others will not hear. So Shilpa, I think you had.
Yes.
Kiran can hear, but reading is because of the internet connection. Okay. I'm sorry,
Yes.
but your connection is not very clear.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, Arjunadi. We are on page 570 and we are reading
Yes.
The Inconscience is an Inverse Reproduction.
Thank you.
Yes.
So,
Shall
Shilpa,
I read?
yeah, read.
The inconscience is an inverse reproduction of the supreme superconscious. It has the same absoluteness of being an automatic action, but in a vast involved trance. It is being lost in itself, plunged in its own abyss of infinity. Instead of a luminous absorption in a self-existence, there is a tenebrous involution in it, the darkness veiled within darkness of the Rig Veda, Tama Asit Tamsa Gudam, which makes it looks like non-existent. Instead of a luminous inherent self-awareness, there is a consciousness plunged into an abyss of self-oblivion inherent in being, but not awake in being. Yet, is this involved consciousness still a concealed knowledge by identity? It carries in it the awareness of all the truths of existence, hidden in its dark, infinite, and when it acts and creates. But in fact, it acts first as energy and not as a consciousness. Everything is arranged with the precision and perfection of an intrinsic knowledge. In all material things reside a mute and involved real idea of substantial and self-effective intuition, an eyeless exact perception, an automatic intelligence working out its unexpressed and unthought conceptions, a blindly seeing sureness of sight, a dumb, infallible sureness of suppressed feeling, coated in insensibility, which effectuates all that has to be effected. All this state and action of the inconscient corresponds very evidently with the same state and action of the pure superconscious, but translated into terms of self-darkness in place of the original self-light. Intrinsic in the material form, these powers are not possessed by the form, but yet work in its mute subconscious.
Very interesting idea what you're saying, and we'll have a look at that. So, first of all, there is the upper hemisphere and there is a lower hemisphere. And the middle point, the point which divides the two, is the supermind. Okay? The supermind, whatever is above, gets reflected below like a mirror image. Okay? So, the highest is Sat, and that Sat becomes matter at the lowest. Then there is Chit Shakti, okay, next below the Sat, and that becomes the vital, the energy, prana in the lower hemisphere. Then the Ananda becomes the psychic being, and the supermind becomes the mind. So this is it's a mirror image. So, and there is a great similarity between the superconscious and the inconscious. The superconscious is that which is God, if you want. He is light, He is consciousness, He is power, He is Ananda. And when he is manifesting himself, he has to reduce all these things and make them much, much, much less and limited. But does the limitation stop at one particular level? No, it goes on because the nature of the infinity in God. So it becomes absolutely the opposite of the superconscient. So in the inconscient, everything is the opposite of the higher, but there are certain similarities. What are the similarities? Then we'll see the differences. The similarities are the superconscient is infinite. The inconscient also is infinite. Okay. The superconscient is eternal. It will always be there. The inconscient also will always be there. It is eternal. Then the superconscient is formless. There are no forms there. Okay. And in the inconscient also, there is a complete darkness which is without form. Okay. So many, and then the superconscient is a seed form of the world. The seed form. From there, the tree of the world comes out. Okay. Like we have in the Upanishads as well as the Gita. Urdhva Mulo Adhashakha. The roots are above. Urdhva Mulo, Mula. The roots are above and the branches are below. Okay. Not the superconscient. But in the inconscient, it is the opposite. The inconscient also is a seed form and the roots are below and slowly there's an evolution and so the branches are coming out. Okay, it's the opposite. So it's a mirror image. Then what are the similarities? We saw the similarities, now the differences. The difference is the superconscient is light, full of light. The inconscient is darkness, total darkness. Then the superconscient is power. Okay. But the inconscient is power but hidden. It has the power to start the evolution, but it is hidden. You don't see it. Then there is Ananda at the highest level. There seems to be no Ananda at all in the lower level because darkness is the opposite, absolutely. Total consciousness on top, total unconsciousness below. So these are the similarities and the dissimilarities. That's why it's a mirror image. Okay, the mirror image is not the opposite. It is only left becomes right, right becomes left. There is a transference. So this is what he's saying. This is the basic idea. Now let us see his language. Okay, how he expresses this. The inconscience is an inverse reproduction of the supreme superconscious. This is exactly what we have discussed. It's a reproduction, but it's an inverse reproduction. Okay. I normally don't say inverse because mirror image, right becomes left, left becomes right. Okay. Inverse means the opposite. So the inconscience is an inverse reproduction of the supreme superconscious. It has the same absoluteness of being. Absoluteness of being, the being is a substance. So at the highest level, pure light substance. At the lower level, pure dark substance. Even science talks of dark matter, you know. Nowadays they have started talking of dark matter. So absolute dark matter. Same absoluteness of being and automatic action. Now note that, that's another similarity. Automatic action. At the highest level, the involution, the manifestation of the universe is automatic. It has to come. It will come. And the same also there below. But again, the difference is in the superconscious, the manifestation is immediate. Whereas in the inconscious, the manifestation of whatever is there inside comes out after millions of years. After millions of years comes out matter. Then after another million years comes out life. Then maybe a little less, but then comes out mind. And now it goes faster and faster as it keeps traveling. Now Superman will come out. So it is the immediate and the delayed. So they are again opposites. Okay. So in a vast now. Same absolute of being and automatic action, but in a vast involved trance. So two words are there. Trance suggests no superficial consciousness, no awareness, but it is involved. So what is involved? All these things, Chit, Shakti, Ananda, Shakti, Sat, everything is there, but involved. It's like a zipping of files in a computer. Okay, an essay occupies too much space, so I zip it, and it becomes 1/3 or even half or even less than that. Now, in the superconscious and inconscient, it becomes absolutely zero. It gets compressed into zero. It is zipped into zero. There is no, but it is there. Everything is there. It can be opened up. Okay? So there is a difference. So, vast inward trance. It is being lost in itself, plunged in its own abyss of infinity. It is plunged. The consciousness plunges itself into and reduces itself and becomes the opposite. All the same with the other elements in the superconscious. Power, Ananda, and Shakti. Okay. Instead of a luminous absorption in self-existence, there is a tenebrous involution in it. The darkness veiled within darkness of the Rigveda. Tama asit tamasa gudham. Gudham, hidden. So the tama, the darkness is hidden in the darkness. Okay, that's what it is. In other words, it expresses how much compressed it is. Okay, you could have maybe even repeated 2 more times. The Rigveda could have said, Tama asit tamasa gudam. Again, tamasa gudataram and gudatamam. It becomes absolutely the highest concentration. So, which makes it look like non-existence, because there's nothing there except darkness. Nothing exists. Instead of a luminous inherent self-awareness, there is a consciousness plunged into an abyss of self-oblivion. Note the word self-oblivion. It is purposely done. The consciousness purposely forgets its consciousness and becomes unconsciousness. The Shakti also, it is self-oblivion. It forgets itself and becomes the opposite of itself. This is a willed action, because we have discussed already how, okay, if you remember, the manifestation requires always a limitation. Okay, I usually, to understand this sentence, we normally give the idea of a large part of a large amount of clay. Now, pots and pans are there inherent in it, but they are not yet manifested. So if I have to manifest the pots and pans and cups and tumblers and plates and whatnot from the clay, I have to take a little bit of clay and then make a form. So form always implies limitation. And limitation, if it becomes infinite, it becomes absolutely the inconscient. Okay? So limitation doesn't stop in the middle. Limitation goes on to absoluteness. So he has already told you, he has used the word same absoluteness. So this is why the opposite is the superconscient and the inconscient are opposites in that sense. Okay. Self-oblivion. It is willed. It is willed because of manifestation. And automatically you have to reach up to the inconscient. Inherent in being, but not awake in being. So the light is there at the highest level, consciousness is there, open. So if you reach that place, you will have to see everything. But in the inconscient, you can't see anything, they are all hidden. Okay? Not awake. Inherent in being, there is a description of the inconscient. Inherent, it is there, but hiding. Just like the tree is hidden in the seed. Okay? But not awake in being. Yet is this involved consciousness still a concealed knowledge by identity. Good God, what is Sendo saying? Okay, he's saying it's a concealed knowledge by identity. Even knowledge by identity, when it goes on coming down, we have already seen the identity starts becoming less and less and less and less until finally there is a division between subject and object. Identity means subject and object are the same. There is the experience when you can become the God consciousness. When you become the God consciousness, everything is within Him. So it's total identification, okay? Identity. So, but at the opposite, even this capacity of identity gets diminished and absolutely involved in it. Okay? Yet is this involved consciousness still, is using the word still, although it becomes zero, but still it's a concealed knowledge by identity. It carries in it the awareness of all the truths of existence, hidden in its dark infinite, and when it acts and creates, then there is this those style, comma dash, he is putting in, we would have put it into parenthetical brackets, but Sridhar uses a comma dash technique. So we will read that sentence once without the intermediate phrase, and then we'll see how the sentence goes. Then we will see what he's saying about the in the parenthetical phrase. So I'm reading it now in a different way. I'm going to jump, okay, from the comma dash to the next comma dash. Then the sentence makes sense. Okay, so it carries in it the awareness. What is the it? The inconscient. It carries in it the awareness of all the truths of existence, but hidden in its dark infinite. And when it acts and creates, everything is arranged with the precision and perfection of an intrinsic knowledge. So when the inconscient is producing matter and matter is producing plants, there is absolutely perfect arrangement in the plant. Okay? Everything is systematic, organized, nothing is haphazard. That's what Sadhguru is saying. When it acts and creates, everything is arranged with the precision and perfection of an intrinsic knowledge. There is no confusion at all. Now, I'll read the parenthetical phrase. But it acts first as energy and not consciousness. So, matter is energy. It's not consciousness. Consciousness is there, but it is deep inside. Okay? And as it keeps coming up more and more, in life, the consciousness starts awakening. It becomes awake. In man, in animal, it becomes even more awake. In man, the consciousness is halfway. It's already far superior. Then when you enter level 2 of the spiritual planes of consciousness increases and the energy seems to be held back. Okay? So in the self, it's immutable. The energy is there, but it is held back. Just like the water behind the dam. You can't say that there is no energy in the water behind the dam when it is even static. The energy is there, but it is held back. Okay? In the inconscient also, everything is there, but it is held back. The consciousness is held back, the substance is held back, the power is held back, and also the ananda is held back. Okay? So, but it acts first as energy and not as consciousness. Everything is arranged with the precision and perfection of an intrinsic mind. In all material things, okay, we can make a little more comment also on that. If there was really a zero and the knowledge and power and ananda were not involved in it, it would create, maybe it has the power to create, but it would create haphazard. Even the creation would not have been possible if the power was not there in the world. Shakti should not be. If the Shakti is not involved there, how will it create? So everything is there. But first it creates only energy, then it creates consciousness. And I think ananda comes last. Okay. So this is it. It is there inside the inconscient. Otherwise it can't create. Power is there. But it creates, as they saying, it creates first energy, then it creates consciousness, and finally the Ananda is there. The total Ananda is only at the highest level, and not as consciousness. And read the next phrase. In all material things reside a mute and involved real idea. Real idea, R cap, I cap. So the real ideas are all there in the supermind. Okay. And what is the real idea? You must also have the blueprint of whatever has to be created in the physical world is a real idea. Why is he using the word idea? Because it's very similar to the process in the physical world. Okay? If I have an idea that I want to become an engineer, okay, it will manifest itself. Maybe in 5 years, I'll get a degree and I'll pass out of college with a degree of engineering. But there's a problem. I may not be able to do it. I may not be able to finish the course. I may not have the money. I may fall sick. So there is a certain doubt about the idea in the physical world. But the idea in the supermind is absolutely real. There is no doubt, there is no uncertainty, nothing. That's why he calls it the real idea. Whatever is conceived as a blueprint in the supermind is bound to become a reality. That's the difference. That's why real idea. Okay? Clear now, I hope. So, our ideas can become real, but they need not become real, and also it takes time. Whereas in the supermind, the real idea manifests immediately and absolutely perfectly. That's a theoretical aspect. But you may make an argument, you may tell, where is the absoluteness? Okay. Because sometimes things are going wrong. Okay. Sometimes twins are born, instead of being separate, they are joined. Sometimes an animal has 2 heads, sometimes it has 6 legs. I'm not making these up, these are all facts. There was recently in Tamil Nadu a calf which was born with 6 legs. Okay. So, how to explain this variation? Now remember that there is a limitation. Okay. And the limitation, when limitation is there, error can come in. So, although 90% or 99% of the time it works perfectly and the real idea gets expressed perfectly, but the introduction of limitation and darkness in the involution sometimes produces an opposite effect. So, you can have conjoined twins, you can have I think recently also there was a calf with 6 legs. Okay, so this is what is a real idea. I'm expanding on the idea of real idea. A substantial and self-effective intuition. It is there in the inconscient. He's using the word substantial. First of all, in the inconscient, there is apparently not even substance. So the substance first, matter emerges first from the inconscient. So it is substance. And self-effective intuition. Self-effective. Nobody is telling the inconscient that you have to produce a tree, you have to produce an animal. No. It knows itself that it has to do it. Because it's a hidden knowledge, intrinsic knowledge. Okay, so in all material things reside a mute and involved real idea. Mute, it's not expressed at all. So, a substantial and self-effective intuition, and eyeless exact perception. There is perception, but it is eyeless. It's not obvious. That's what it means. An automatic intelligence working out its unexpressed and unthought conceptions. Okay, it's not yet openly, but everything is there in seed form. You can say of all these words, okay, that the seed knows that it is to produce a tree, but you don't see it, so it's eyeless. It's also automatic. Okay? The seed will definitely produce the tree. There is an automatic intelligence. And why automatic and not conscious? Because the mango seed will produce only a mango tree. It will never produce an apple tree. Okay? So automatic intelligence. Working out its unexpressed and unthought conceptions, a blindly seeing sureness of sight. Now look at that. So everybody is so fond of using oxymorons, yeah? But it makes so much sense. A blindly seeing sureness of sight. The instinct of animals is exactly like that. The animal, the bird, does not know that winter is coming, therefore I have to go 4,000 kilometers down south where it is very warm. So it doesn't know that, but it does it automatically. Okay, so that's the thing. A blindly seeing sureness of sight, a dumb, infallible sureness of suppressed feeling, coated in insensibility. Feeling is there, but it is covered up with insensibility, which effectuate all that has to be effected. So it manifests all that has to be manifested. This is the power of the inconscient. All this state and action of the inconscient corresponds very evidently with the same state and action of the pure superconscious. Exactly the same. Okay? The superconscious also knows exactly what it has to produce, but translated into terms of self-darkness in place of the original self-light. Intrinsic in the material form, these powers are not possessed by the form, but yet work in its new subconscious. This last sentence will try and understand what is it. Intrinsic in the material form. Okay? The material form contains all these things, everything. But these powers are not possessed by the form. The form does not possess these powers. In the superconscious, there is no form, but the formless possesses these powers. What are the powers? Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. So, the formless Satchidananda is full master of its own powers. But in the inconscient, these powers, are there. All are there. The manifestations to be. What is to be manifested is there. But it is not under the control of consciousness because consciousness is absent. That's what he's saying. Okay? So, very interesting language. The idea is not very difficult to grasp, but the language is fantastic. Opposites. Blindly seeing sureness of sight. Look at that. Okay, so, highly interesting. So I'll do one thing. Let me see. I'll read the summary. Okay. So he's saying here, the inconscience is a mirror. This is my own language. The inconscience is a mirror image of the superconscious, an inverse copy of the supreme luminosity. They are both infinite, eternal, self-involved, self-concentrated seed states. The superconscious is a self-condensed light. The inconscient is a dark, tenebrous self-involvement. The Rig Veda says it is darkness enveloped in darkness. It's a way of saying extreme darkness. But this inconscient is an involved knowledge. Knowledge is there hidden. All the evolutionary works emerging out of it are executed with an incredible, extraordinary precision, which is mind-blowing. It is a blind, faultlessly working mechanism. It's a blind and faultlessly mechanism, but it's a mechanism. Because it has knowledge by identity hidden deep in its roots. It may look like non-existence, but it is really existence in reverse. It has hidden in it the real idea of the supermind, infallibly executing each movement as if it were fully conscious. In the first emergence of the inconscience, it is energy that manifests and not consciousness, Shakti and not Chit. Okay? So this is what he said in the para. Very interesting para, and we have gone through it in detail. We still have about 9-10 minutes, so we can read the next one. So Shilpa read this one. So now I think Archana, if she has a text, you can read. Because Kiran's Yasmin doesn't have the text, and Kiran's internet is giving trouble. So Archana, if you are there,
Is my voice clear?
yeah, no. So we are reading the next one.
No, no, I'm asking my voice is clear because net I was wondering. Okay, I'm reading.
Okay.
We can, in this knowledge, understand more clearly the stages of the emergence of consciousness from involution to its evolved appearance, of which we have already attempted some general conception. The material existence has only a physical, not a mental individuality, but there is a subliminal presence in it. The one conscious in unconscious things, that determines the operation of its indwelling energies. If, as has been affirmed, a material object receives and retains the impressions of the contacts of things around it, and energies emanate from it, so that an occurrent knowledge can become aware of its past, can make us conscious of these emanating influences. The intrinsic unorganized awareness pervading the form but not yet enlightening it must be the cause of this receptivity and these capacities. What we see from outside is that material objects like plants and minerals have their powers, properties, and inherent influences. But as there is no faculty or means of communication, it is only by being brought into contact with person or object or by a conscious utilization by living beings that the influences can become active. Such a utilization is the practical side of more than one human science. But still, these powers and influences are attributes of being, not of mere indeterminate substance. They are forces of the spirit emerging by energy from its self absorbed unconscious. This first crude mechanical action of an inherent absorbed conscious energy opens in the primary forms of life into submental life vibrations that imply an involved sensation. There is a seeking for growth, light, air, life room, a blind feeling out, which is still internal and confined within the immobile being, unable to formulate instincts, to communicate, to externalize itself. And immobility not organized to establish living relations. It endures and absorbs contacts, involuntarily infects but cannot voluntarily impose them. The unconscious is still dominant, still works out everything by the secret involved knowledge by identity. It has not yet developed the surface contactual means of conscious knowledge. This further development begins with overtly conscious life. What we see in it is the imprisoned consciousness struggling out to the surface. It is under the compulsion of this struggle that the separated living being strives, however blindly at first, and within narrow limits, to enter into conscious relations with the rest of the world being, outside. It is by the growing amount of contacts that it can receive and by growing amount of contacts that it can put out from itself or impose in order to satisfy its needs that the being of living matter develops its consciousness, grows from inconscious or subconscious to a limited separated knowledge.
Even Archana's internet was not very clear. Is it?
Yes, Rangada, you asked. I'm in the dispensary, Rangada, that's why.
Oh, that's why.
In my room, in my dispensary, my room does not have very good connections.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so it is 8:36. We have only 4 minutes, and I'm sure we'll not be able to finish this. So I think we'll keep it for next time. But basically what I can do, I can just read the summary, okay, so that we have a rough idea of what he's saying. So I'll do that. We have just enough time for that. Okay, so what he's saying here, armed with the knowledge of the inconscient, we can understand the emergence of the involved powers of the spirit in a graded evolutionary upward movement. So he's saying that we can understand the evolution because the inconscient, although it seems to be absolutely the opposite of consciousness and opposite of existence, it has got all the powers there. So if it is there, it is everything is there inside. That's why there is an automatic evolution. Armed with the knowledge of the inconscient, we can understand the emergence of the inward powers of the spirit in a graded evolutionary upward movement. Okay. Then he's saying, next is, matter has no mental individuality, but only a physical one. Atoms. Okay. It is said that even atoms have some sort of free will. Okay. But that's another subject altogether. I won't go into that. But the hidden presence of the Supreme Spirit is there within matter. This we have seen very often, that the divine consciousness is there, hidden even in stone. The divine presence is there. It is this presence that imparts qualities, properties to objects. Okay? Because the divine presence is there, it gives qualities and properties. Each material object corresponds to external stimuli on it. It retains these impressions, sanskaras. Okay? A spiritual initiate can enter into the object and know its past history. This is what we have seen in the previous paragraphs also. There is a psychic person, not psychic in the spiritual, in the Shriyagdonian sense, but in the ordinary sense of the word. A psychic can touch something and understand its past history, its properties. Then all objects have properties, characteristics, which are its individuality, but cannot express. The stone cannot express what it is capable of, communicate or manifest them because of deficiency of instrumentation. It does not have the instrumentation to manifest its qualities. These properties are the signs of the spirit involved in the limited form. It is this spirit that imparts qualities to matter. Now remember, each matter has got its own qualities. Okay? Plants is very, very obvious. Some plants have the capacity to cure certain things. Okay? They are now discovering that even plants have the power to, they claim, cure even cancer, but it can certainly cure many other things. Okay? Even animals are conscious of that. If they have an upset stomach, they start eating grass. Those who are carnivorous. So it is automatic. But the spirit, being infinite power in origin, at last emerges from the dumb inconscience and insensitivity and flowers out as life and mind. It is here that a limited, indirect, separating knowledge reveals itself. This is what. Now he is linking it to what he said earlier. So everything is involved in the inconscient. But the first thing that comes out is the separative, indirect separating knowledge. So this is what he said. But it's an extremely interesting paragraph, and we'll have to look at that very carefully next time. Okay? We don't have the time. It's already 8:40. So, okay. Well, we'll do this again. It's a very interesting paragraph. The properties of objects are all because of the divine presence in things. That's what he's saying. Okay? We'll discuss that in detail. How it is like that. Every material has got some properties. And what those properties are? Because the divine presence is there. Okay. So Au revoir. Have a nice day.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir, Ranada.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rama.
Bye.
Thank you, Rama.